Welcome to Cheap Card Gamer. I am Tim Stice. I am the Cheap Card Gamer. And welcome to episode 1 of Cheap Card Gamer. What on earth is this? Well, first of all, let me tell you, I am a person who likes card games. And I'm cheap. Thus the name Cheap Card Gamer. But what is this podcast? Well, odds are you're listening to this because you also like card games. Perhaps you're also cheap like me. So what am I going to do on this? Well, for one, I just want to talk about card games because I like card games. Two, I want to review some products for you. Some of this will be digital versions of games, and some could even be paper versions of games. I want to talk about those. I also want to talk about some ways that you can save money. You guys know, if you're a card gamer, you know how expensive this hobby can be. And so we don't want to waste our money on nonsense. If there's ways that we can save money and get the same amount of fun, we want to do that. I want to help you get the most bang for your buck out of card gaming. And so that's part of what this podcast is going to be about. Two, I just want to inform you about some products that I'm having fun with, and maybe it's something that you want to look into. I would like to take some opportunities to maybe interview some guests, some other content creators that are involved with card games, and that's something else that we'll look into another time. But today, I wanted to give you my history with card games. What is my experience with card games? I wish I could sit down and tell you, man, I am a TCG champion. I've won this championship, that championship. Let me tell you my story, and you'll see that it's not quite that glorious. But I fell in love with card games at the very first with Pokemon trading card game when I was in middle school. This was towards the beginning of the game, probably I'm not 100%. Can't remember the years, but mid 90s to coming into 2000. And at that time, it was extremely popular. If you remember that time, it was taken over. The Pokemon trading card game was a huge deal. And every kid in my school, every boy for sure, and a lot of the girls probably, were collecting the cards. We were opening packs, looking at each other's collection. Oh, check it out. I opened up this Charizard or whatever, and all of that. Well, I remember I started saying, this is a game. I started learning the game and sitting down playing the game and having a lot of fun with it. But most of the people around me were just checking out the cards, maybe trading, collecting, things like that. But most of the people weren't really, my classmates, my friends weren't really into the game. So I remember getting the starter deck. Do you remember the old 2-player starter deck? I think I got one for Walmart. It had it was super janky. It had the first edition Machamp in there, the foil card. And then I think it also had Vaporeon was one of the other. It was supposed to be one of the good cards that was in there. And I remember monkeying around with that. I kind of made my brother and sister play with me, and they humored me with it. I don't think they ever really cared that much, but they messed around with it. And that was when I completely fell in love because I never really done anything before that. I know some other card games had been around, Magic had been around, and things like that. Pokemon was not the first, but for me, it was the first. And I remember seeing it and thinking, man, this is great. Like, I can notice, ooh, if I combine this card with this card, I can do this. And sort of thinking, oh, this is really interesting because this game depends a lot on being clever and coming up with ideas and what you combine. And I wonder what other possibilities are out there. And just like any well-designed card game, I started thinking about things like that. And I was hooked, man. I was completely addicted. I would always beg my mom to buy me a booster pack. Anytime we went to Target and Walmart, you guys can see where the cheap side of things is starting to come in because I quickly realized after a little while, I was still young then, obviously, but after a while, I started to realize how money plays a role in this. And so we'll get to that in a little bit, but I would always have my mom buy me a booster pack anytime we went to Target, Walmart. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just had fun with it. And my collection is growing. A little bit later, maybe a couple years later, I got into Dragon Ball Z trading card game only because of the show. Dragon Ball Z, if you played Dragon Ball Z card game, talking about the first time around, man, it really was not very good initially. The first couple sets, it was horribly designed. Although I loved it because it was Dragon Ball Z and I loved everything Dragon Ball Z. I think this was made by Score originally. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it was made by Score was the name of the company. And uh, it wasn't great, but I loved it because of the license. And so I collected a ton of cards, and this is where I initially found out about. Up until then, I did not know about a local gaming scene at a local gaming store. It was only when I started playing this, and you got to remember, in the mid '90s, the internet was not what it is now, and so it took me a while to figure that out. And it was when I got there, and I played in a Dragon Ball Z tournament at a local gaming store that I saw really what this was for other people. For me, I had a stack of cards collected of booster packs that I had bought from Walmart. And then I get there, and first of all, I was younger than everyone else. Everybody else was older, teenagers, 20s maybe. They had jobs, they had income, and I was really jealous because they would tote in these huge boxes of cards. And I would be like, whoa, man, I would just be amazed at their cards and say, man, how'd you get all this? How'd you get these? And they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, well, these are, I bought a few boxes and had a few of these or whatever. And I remember them saying like boxes, like they're buying boxes at a time, not packs at a time. And I was amazed at that. I had, the thought had not even crossed my mind. I'm like, man, buy a whole box at a time? That's a lot of money. I was a kid, of course, so it was it was a lot more money to me. Whatever allowance I had, maybe $10 or something. I could not fathom saving up enough to buy a box. Maybe like for a Christmas present is the only thing I could think of. But that was my first experience with the LGS. Now, over the years, I dabbled with a few other games, of course. I was kind of introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh! I tried a game called Duel Masters, which I really loved. And maybe I'll talk more about Duel Masters later on. I did try Star Wars for a while. There was a bunch of games that I tried over the years. It also kind of introduced me to TCG video games on Game Boy Advance at the time. I remember playing things like Pokemon trading card game, Duel Masters. There's several Duel Masters games on Game Boy Advance. Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually on Game Boy Advance. I remember playing some of those and just having a blast. Now, this is where I really started to appreciate the financial aspect of it because Yu-Gi-Oh! Paper cards, I was never really into that much. My friends had some and we messed around with them, but the Game Boy Advance game, I remember the first one I bought, what was the retail price is $30 or something like that. But you have access to hundreds and thousands of cards, and you don't have to pay for the booster pack. Everything is on the cartridge. You play the game, you unlock, and then you build decks and you play against people. So everything was there. And I remember thinking, man, for $30, I'm getting this experience. If I bought all these cards in real life, it would cost way more than that. We're talking hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars probably. And I remember thinking, man, this is a great value. I think the name of the game, the first Yu-Gi-Oh, was Eternal Duelist Soul, that I played on Game Boy Advance. And primitive as it was, I remember thinking, man, this is amazing. And so what I was really impressed with was the value that I got back for the investment. I knew I did not want to go out and spend thousands of dollars on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but if I could get a similar experience from playing it on Game Boy and only have to pay $30, $40, that was something I was interested in. And so I did that for several of those games, and I have fond memories of those. I'll tell you guys about some of those in future episodes. Real quick, let me take a break, and then I want to tell you the rest of the story. Magic, when I finally got into Magic. All right, when I first got into Magic trading card game, I don't remember the year. It was later on, and you guys probably remember this better than I do. It might have been 20, oh gosh, what would it have been? 2012 or something like that. So not that long ago. But honestly, I just remember seeing the stuff at Walmart or whatever, and thinking, oh yeah, you know what, this looks cool. And so I bought some of the stuff. I think I bought, starting off, a deck builder's toolkit. If you're not familiar with that, some of y'all remember this. Maybe like maybe 80 cards. It's not completely random what you get, but it's like semi-random set of cards. So it's nothing like crazy good, but it allows you to build some decks. And then you get your lands, and I think you get like 3 or 4 booster packs. So I bought one of those, and it's a little box to carry them around in, which is nice. And then I bought maybe like a starter deck. And I saw the advertisements in the packs talk about, hey, go play on Friday nights at your local gaming store, Friday Night Magic. And I thought, oh man, that's awesome. And they're like, yeah, you can get promo cards. You might even be able to win packs. I don't remember exactly what the advertisement said, but it was something like that. And I thought, oh man, that sounds really cool. I had very limited experience doing that, but I thought, oh man, I'm going to go do this. And man, if you're listening to this right now, you know, if you had the same experience with Magic, when you first went to go play at your first Friday Night Magic, I'll just tell you what it was for me. I got my face stomped in by people who knew what they were doing and had a lot better decks, more cards, and more experience. And it was really amazing because, man, I remember some of the jank that I brought. Dude, I had like 1/1 flyers that cost two and stuff, which I thought was like a good card. And it's amazing some of the stuff I thought was good cards early on. And the thought had never occurred to me, wow, these people are going to have way better cards. They're going to know what they're doing. They're going to have experience playing the game. They're going to know more than me. It never occurred to me. I just thought, oh, I'll go have fun. Maybe I'll win a game. Who knows? I could win. I played, I think, 4 matches that night. I got absolutely destroyed. Now, here's the deal, though, and I don't know how this happened. I won one game, not a match. You play, best 2 out of 3 or whatever, but I won one game with my just horrible, not very good, pretty much starter deck. And I think that hooked me on the game, man. I think that one win gave me hope of like, oh, I can improve. Now I see what some other people are doing, and I can get, if I get more cards, man, you know what? Magic hooked me in and said, man, if I get more cards, I can be more competitive. And from that moment, y'all know this, you're listening to this, means you're a fan of these games. I was hooked on Magic. So me and my buddy, I roped him into it, and we started collecting cards. We would go to Friday Night Magic. Man, there for a while, we were really committed for a couple of years. We would go on every Friday night. We would go to every new set pre-release. Every few months, we would go to drafts. We were going to play 2 or 3 times a week, every week. And some of you hear this and say, well, man, that's nothing. I do more than I'm there every day. Some people do that. But if you do that, you also know how expensive it can become. And we noticed this too after a while. We said, man, we're buying in for these events. We're buying for pre-releases. If we're buying any booster packs, boxes. You got to remember now, early on buying a lot of this product, and even in the 2000s, we're buying, even if we're buying booster boxes and getting a good deal, maybe we're buying some stuff on eBay, things like that. It was a while before anybody introduced me to something like tcgplayer.com, where you can get a bunch of singles. The local game stores where we played at did not sell singles, or at least if there was anybody selling singles, they were not at a good price where you could buy like bulk commons and uncommons that you needed at a decent price. So this became pretty expensive after a while. And even with us trying to trade with people and make good deals and things like that, it still became very expensive. So we quit after a while because it was too expensive. Then we got back into it again. Then we quit again because it was too expensive, too much of an investment, and kind of went back and forth with that on Magic for a little while. I'm curious, did you have a similar experience with Magic Maybe you're still playing now and that doesn't bother you at all. I know some people do Commander and things like that. They're invested and they don't have to pay a whole lot more. So that's one way to do it. But yeah, I got my face stomped with Magic now. I will tell you about a couple things that I'm playing now. A couple things I'm involved with now is we traded in our Magic for Keyforge. Mostly, and hopefully you've heard of Keyforge. Mostly that was a financial decision. There was a lot of different factors. I'll do an episode about this later, why we traded in our Magic for Keyforge. It's not that I looked at Keyforge and said, well, Keyforge is a better game. I don't think I would say that necessarily. There are a lot of things I like about Keyforge. But honestly, one of the big things was an investment. The idea with Keyforge, if you're not familiar, you buy a deck, which is randomized. You don't buy boosters. You don't do deck building in Keyforge. When you buy the product, it's a deck of cards that's already put together and playable for you. And that deck has a barcode assigned to it, and it's unique. It's completely unique. You can't take the deck apart. You can't build other ones. And you say, well, man, that's no fun. There's no deck building. That's the whole point of these card games. But here's what's interesting about it. You have everything you need to play with that $10. I think the retail price is $10. $10 booster pack, which is essentially, it's a deck. It's not a pack. It's a deck you're buying. You have everything you need to play. You could go buy a $10 deck and go play a tournament. You could go play at your weekly events or whatever. And there's no, they did say early on, and they've stuck to this so far through a couple of years, it's completely rotation proof. So you're not going to like standard what we did with Magic the Gathering. You're not going to go and like, oh, that's out of rotation now. You got to get some new cards. Well, so far they've not done that with Keyforge. So that $10 deck that you bought a year ago or whatever, you could still play that at your weekly local for Keyforge. So that was very appealing to me. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Keyforge, but it's a very cool game. Check it out if you have not already. But some other things that I'm doing right now are some different card games on Nintendo Switch is mostly where I play. Lately, I've been doing Lord of the Rings adventure card game on there. I've been doing Eternal on Switch. It's there you can do cross-platform. People play on Steam or wherever else online. But those are some of the ones that I've been doing lately. But really, just want to give you guys that's my experience with card games. So, gosh, going back, if we're doing mid '90s, maybe '96, '97 to now, what is that? That's a little over 20 years, right? Man, I'm really old. Uh, some of the things that I want to hear from you guys. What was your first experience with card games? What was your first experience with card games? Did you start with Pokemon like me? Was it Magic? Maybe you go back further than I do. Maybe you're older than me. Did you get your face stomped at your first Friday Night Magic? Tell me about how that happened for you. Maybe I'll do an episode on how that went down for me. But did you get your face stomped at your first Friday Night Magic? Also, what card game are you mostly playing right now? What card game are you playing more than others right now? Tweet me at CheapCardGamer1. I'm going to post all these questions on the Twitter account. So if you're on Twitter, tweet me at CheapCardGamer1. Also, what would you like me to talk about on here? Email me. Send me an email, cheapcardgamer@email.com. I tried to get the easiest email address I possibly could, and I don't think I could do better than that. What would you like me to talk about? I will try to get it on the show, cheapcardgamer@email.com. Follow Cheap Card Gamer on Spotify so you don't miss an episode. I hope you guys enjoy the show. I got a bunch more content coming soon. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.